however, and they win the EFL Cup, maybe he beats Arsenal home and away and they win the EFL Cup, it wouldn't mean much if you ask me. So I think it's a good thing that this set of fixtures sort of allows him settle into the job without the Premier League pressure, because we all know the kind of pressure that the Premier League brings. Even if he ends up losing some of these cup games, he can then focus on Premier League games, try to build morale, and we'll see where things go. Welcome to yet another episode of the Late Go podcast. On today's show, we intend to take you through everything that's been going on in the world of football over the past week, especially. We're going to be discussing on some of the very recent events and some of the events that are to come, especially as it relates to football matches. With me on the show today, I've got the regulars. I've got Samson, our in-house Milan fan. We've also got Ahmed, who is a Milan fan, and we've got JD, who is a very, very huge rival and supports Inter. I'm sure that JD must be very, very happy with everything that has gone on in Serie A over the last match day. How are you doing today, JD?
JD, boy, you're happy.
I'm super excited.
It's not your fault.
And for the Milan fans, I'm not sure they would be too happy with what went down yesterday at the San Siro against Daniele De Rossi's Genoa. In fact, they were very close to losing it in the last minute, but the gods of football were on their side yesterday, and they were able to pick up a point to keep up the pace with leaders Inter at the moment. I think we're going to start from there this evening. Milan versus Genoa. It's always important to get all of this arranged properly. Milan versus Genoa. What are your thoughts? What were your initial feelings after you saw that game yesterday, Sam?
I was considering how we are fared, kind of expected. Whatever received were robbed to our Lawrence Milan scored, and I don't know why he did not collected our. We don't owe him.
Oh, I thought it was on loan.
He's actually on
loan.
Is he not?
Is he still on loan?
He's still on loan.
Yes.
Milan still on
loan. So I thought it was on loan.
I thought he collected our. Anyways, the team lacks that. See that. Imagine Rafael Leao scored and he spent the next.
It was up to 2 minutes.
My friend, get out of here.
I think Samson is exaggerating as well. Although I do not particularly agree with the action or what Leao did. But come on, it was a few seconds. It was unnecessary, but it was a few seconds.
2 minutes celebrating that.
Okay. Let's assume Leao is a child. The Fofana that they are going to meet, then can he not run halfway and tell him, guy, go back, go and pass? I don't understand. There's serious lack of leadership in that. Only for them to concede a penalty in the last.
Well, I also wanted to ask, what was the reason for that celebration? Is there a backstory? Is there a context? Is there some sort of friendship between Leao and Fofana?
From what I understand, Fofana missed a sitter during. There was an empty post. He was supposed to use his leg. Then he tried to use his head and he slipped. So I think Leao just celebrated with him. Maybe motivating for missing an empty post. I mean, professional footballers that are earning salary, they are motivating each other for missing it. Ahmed is the owner of Leao, is the owner of Fofana. Maybe he can shed.
Ahmed, over to you. It sounds to say you should shed more light on your sons.
Actually, according to Alec, he said Fofana wanted extra presence in what we had outright strike, lacked central throughout. So he thought of had extra away from all of this. Very bigger pressure is Allegri's system. For those that is not that. In fact, I have seen a lot of preseason games that had a lot more energy. Everybody like Fofana, Leao, Milan. The only thing that was trying to force action this is, despite that he was also out. I don't know, going into games passing very poor as we are. In fact, it's so obvious in the Rossi Noah Gaffas Milan really big sides that let have time on the ball. He said, really, this is not how I expect us going this kind. It says you can't matches from the very first, but Allegri tends to always narrate it up, let them 60 times. How simple is that? Start asking about mass. It goes beyond Fofana being poor.
You've not even played
the way we approach the game. the way we approach the game itself is poor. It is not to it's of a bad standard. You should approach like you want to throw this team away from the very first. We saw that against Torino. Luckily enough, we've had games that we come back. Yesterday we were unable to come back into the game. And kudos to Genoa defenders. They were very aerially assisted. They kept stopping every of our crosses because that was the only way we come back into the game. Just throw every the sink and at the wall and mistakes. But yesterday it wasn't our day. We ended up with just one. And speaking of Rafael Leao, so that is nothing you should see in the final game. Not in Milan. We have one good dying minute of the game. We had the chance to lies.
Sell
You
him.
should go after the ball immediately and start to not try to see regardless of
It was more
whatever
important for
reason
him to go and
you have
celebrate
behind it.
different.
That should wait till after time, till full time. Priority should be getting back again. So I think Allegri has to rethink, visit his decisions. His approach towards this smaller opponent is not right about. So I'll stop there.
Well, I do agree with a lot of things that both of you have said, and I remember if we search some of the old messages on Calcio Square, there was a time that I specifically mentioned, even when Milan were seemingly doing well, that the system was not
Yeah, I remember.
sustainable, or it seemed like I was talking from a place.
I
Sorry,
remember very well.
so it seemed like I was
Remember that
speaking from
one.
a place of bad belly and stuff like that. But that aside, the fact of the matter still remains that Milan have the longest unbeaten run in Serie A at the moment. They're yet to lose since March day one, which means that they haven't lost in 17 games. That's a lot of time. They're also just 3 points behind league leaders. League leaders Inter will face Napoli, this weekend. If Inter lose to Napoli and Milan you are able to beat Fiorentina, Milan automatically go top because they have a better head-to-head compared to Inter based on the result of their time. So all is not particularly bad. I do know that Allegri, with all of his experience, his aim is always to still be in contention by middle of March, ending of March. If it's still within 3 points, or if it's level on points, or if God help you is above you by middle of March or ending of March, then I think it's going to be hard to wrestle that title away from Milan. But we'll see how things go, and hopefully the best man will win at the end of the season. Moving away from that, we're going to briefly talk about Chelsea. Obviously, we're yet to see Liam Rosenio manage his first game in charge of Chelsea, but he was
He
on
has
the
been
bench
dropping. He
when.
he has bullet points for us.
Yes, I was going to talk about that as well because he was on the bench when Chelsea faced Fulham and they lost to Fulham. That defeat to Fulham made it, I think, just 2 wins from their last. That defeat against Fulham sort of crowned their very bad run of games. Over the last, maybe 10, 11 games or thereabouts since they beat Barcelona. I think they've only won 2 games in all competition. Now we've seen, a lot of clips of Rossinier in training, a lot of what I call them nuggets. Just before we started recording this evening, I saw him doing what I would call a poor man's version of Mourinho's "I'm not one of the bottle"
I
speech,
remember
where
that
Mourinho
moment.
was like, "I'm not one of the bottle. I'm European champion. I'm not something something. Call me special one." I saw him saying,
But
"I'm not arrogant, but I'm very
I'm
good at
good at
what
what
I
I
do."
do.
And I think
I didn't
they-
really saw
they're
that. So I
almost
was just
similar. So did you
I
see
saw it.
that?
It was funny. It was really funny.
So it was like, I'm not arrogant, but I'm very good at what I do. So we're waiting to see what he can do. I think his first match will be in the FA Cup,
That's
if I'm not
tomorrow.
mistaken. I'm not
They
sure who
play
they are facing in
tomorrow.
the FA
They
Cup
wait
now.
to Charlton
They
after
play Chelsea tomorrow.
Charlton.
They wait to
Yes.
Charlton. I believe that
Yes.
should be a soft landing. But, based on the little that you might know of him, JD, what do you think we should expect from Liam Rosen? What type of football should we expect?
From the little I've seen from him, we should expect a kind of a modern positive football. Is the kind of player that likes to press high. He wants to be in control. He wants his team to take charge. They get on the front foot from the very beginning. But one thing that I've noticed in his managerial career is that most of his teams lack character. They are not that side that can hold their own in the face of adversity. They play good football, yes, but then their character comes to question most times when they have to defend leads. So they score a lot of goals and take a lot of goals. Since his announcement as the new Chelsea Chelsea manager, he has dropped a lot of materials, like a whole lot of materials. Most of these materials are going to be used.
When you say material, you're sounding like bad belly.
No, no, no.
You
It's
say,
either
say na material.
these materials are used to his favor or to his
the
disfavor,
materials
depending
loud.
on what result he gives them. So I think that he's an outspoken one. I think he's the media guy. He's never shy away. He always wants to be front list. He always wants
Yeah.
to. I could see him in one of his sessions. I think his first session, he was having a personal discussion with Estival and then later Palmer, I think. So I think he's the guy that wants to be in charge. Like he said in the interview that he said you saw, he said he's the person that likes to be in control of everything. Like he didn't come to Chelsea by favor or by grace. He came here because of what he knows how to do. So let's just wait and see what he has in coffers. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But I
Can you
believe that
imagine?
Or because Strasbourg is
All right.
Chelsea team.
So my next question is actually quite simple because, like we said, we've seen quite a lot of clips of Liam Rossino. He has said a lot of things. In fact, I remember someone asking him if he's a coach or a manager, because as you may be, as you're all aware, that is one of the final would I say controversies or debates that led to Ruben Amorim's dismissal at United. So I think he was asked if he's a coach and a manager, and what Liam Rosenell said was that it's a combination of both. So he's a coach and a manager. In world football, I think there are only a few people that can boast of being a coach and a manager. Pep Guardiola would probably be one of them. It's hard to find people in that mode that you can say are quite astute tactically and would be able to manage the egos that you will find in a football team. Now, we also had a discussion in our last episode. Please bear with me. I'm building up to this question. We also had a discussion in our last episode. I'm not sure if Samson was there or was it the one before, where we were talking about coaching and managing and how many clubs in the world really need a coach, or how many clubs in the world really need a manager. Now, let's focus on this Chelsea team. Considering how young this squad is, considering the direction that they are project, because I, for one, do not consider them as having a project, but let's just say project, quote unquote. Considering the direction that their project is facing, do you think that squad needs more of a coach or more of a manager? Sam?
They need a coach, not a manager. Squad is very young. They have a lot of diamonds rough, and they don't have any player. They don't have any.
Ṣé kó Palmer wá kéré nínú ayé yìí?
Enzo is a World Cup winner.
Okerego.
Enzo is a World Cup
Obama
winner.
Kerego. Enzo that was on the bench for a very long time.
He's a
So
World Cup winner.
they don't
Please
have.
continue.
They don't have. I'm looking for it. They don't have the Rodri, Ruben Diaz thing that can look at the manager question. So they have a lot of young that direction and they need proper coaching. So they need a coach until the project change. Maybe they start buying experience. Then we can look for it. For now, I think the ownership just want coach that can them within touching distance, top four guys, cup guys, maybe play one or cup final and flip. So for me, I think they
And also improve the value of players, because as far as
yeah,
that management is concerned, they just want to improve player values and sell them. But Ahmed, what are your thoughts on this particular matter?
Well, really, if you look at his history in Chelsea earlier in his career, his first coaching not so he started. He finished that season with 7 missing promotion, slight chance. In fact, he was
Ahmed, we can't hear you.
best coach. Oh, sorry, I said back in his career, his first major job, not the ceremony he had with Derby County, his job with Hull City, as he finished the season in 7th position, missing position by slight margin. So the season ended on a rather funny note in the sense that he was nominated for coach of the season. At the same time, he had a personal disagreement with their club owners who criticized him for playing a defensive style. You understand, there was contradictions between what club manager and club president wanted and what he was implementing. According to the president, he was playing too much of a defensive style, which wasn't what he wanted. He wanted a more expansive, more attacking style of football. That was what led to his sacking Hull City. Then he got appointed at Strasbourg, where he refined his game a little bit. He moved away from the very defensive side. He came up with Hull City and tried a little more attacking style. So for someone who has the capacity to adapt both attacking and defensive part of football. I believe such flexibility should help him navigate the his early time at Chelsea. Though right now, what Chelsea need most is not even what the offensive part of their game. It is stability. They need stability to start with. You understand? Consistent results. So if he can show to adapt quickly, like he adapted at Strasbourg and also achieve something relatively good with them. Okay, finish the season 7th also with Strasbourg and qualify them for European
Are you sure
Conference
it's not
League.
gonna finish
So I think
seventh
those
in
are good
Chelsea too?
traits. Well, we'll see that at the end of the season. But right now, he has shown that he can adapt relatively to the target of whatever team he has got appointed. So right now, I hope he can bring in that stability that Chelsea greatly needs, because their season is still very much in the running. They are not far away from UCL qualification. So if he adapts quickly and give them that necessary balance, yeah, I think he should be able to attain that fit at this.
Okay.
Okay.
JD, do you have any contrary thought?
What's the question again?
Do you think Chelsea needs
Oh,
more of a
that's
coach
true.
or more
I
of a manager?
I completely agree with Eso that they need a coach. Considering the assembly players they have, the sort of the collection of players they have needs a proper coach and not a manager. There is nothing to manage in those crop of players. You need somebody to coach them to the way they want them to play. We literally know that Chelsea are not playing for some special titles now. They are just trying to sign players, develop them for a while, and then flip them over. And I think that's the reason why they went for a manager in the mode of Liam Rossini. If Chelsea really want a big title, they know the kind of manager they have to go for. They know the kind of manager that they would sign to contend for those titles. But now they have a project that is centered around making money, balancing their books. So I feel that Rossini is kind of right for them at this point in time, because they just want to improve their players and sell them on for profit.
Interesting. Moving away from that, over on, I think Samson wanted to say something before JD.
Yeah, I just wanted to roll out his next 5 games.
Mm.
So
Might be something scary. This one
he's
I have
going.
decided to roll it out.
No, no, it's not that scary actually. He's going away to Chelsea FA Cup.
Epic.
That's tomorrow.
Then he's hosting Arsenal EFL
Mm.
Cup.
Okay.
Then in the Premier League, Chelsea is hosting Brentford. Is very important.
Brentford are in the form of their life.
They're in the form of their life. Then in the Champions League, they are playing Palace. Then in the Premier League, they are playing Star before they play Napoli and Champions. So it's kind of a touch and but Arsenal twice. I don't know. Loses those.
That's a call.
Well, if you ask me, I think it's a good thing that he's not thrown into the fray of the Premier League immediately. That he has to deal with a few cup
That's
games
true.
first. I mean, in this 5 games, he only has one Premier League game. That's the one against Brentford. At the end of the day, Chelsea's main target will still be to qualify for that Champions League. A trophy helps here and there, but they won a couple of trophies last season. I don't think that if they fail to win a trophy this season, it will be particularly seen as a disaster if they end up making it to the Champions League. If
They're
they
just
do
4
not
points.
make it to the Champions League, however, if they do not make it to the Champions League, however, and they win the EFL Cup, maybe he beats Arsenal home and away and they win the EFL Cup, it wouldn't mean much if you ask me. So I think it's a good thing that this set of fixtures sort of allows him settle into the job without the Premier League pressure, because we all know the kind of pressure that the Premier League brings. Even if he ends up losing some of these cup games, he can then focus on Premier League games, try to build morale, and we see where things go. But enough of the talks about Chelsea. On the other side of England, we have their twin brothers, Manchester United. They've also sacked their manager, like everybody is aware of. But unlike Chelsea, they are yet to find a successor. Just like Chelsea did with their interim manager. Well, no, Chelsea actually, Chelsea drew, right? No, Chelsea drew
They lost
against
to Fulham.
City,
They lost to Fulham.
but they drew against
Fulham.
City
Yes,
and then lost to Fulham. But with Manchester United, Darren Fletcher actually drew
Burnley.
against
Burnley.
what's the Burnley. So they're twin brothers, whichever way you want to
Brothers
look
in
at
fear.
it. There are talks that they might bring in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to take over on an interim basis. I've seen quite a number of arguments for Solskjaer and a number of arguments against Solskjaer. I'd like to know where you guys stand. I mean, I'm just going to try to paint, the situation for you. We're talking about a person that has been on the job, that knows the club as a player and as a coach. He was not all that successful when he coached, but it was not terrible as well, if we're being honest. But at the same time, like I said, it did not achieve too much success. Do you guys think that, going for Solskjaer is the best move at this point in time? I'll begin with Ahmed.
Well, if you ask me, like I said, for Amorim or Maresca was sacked, I mentioned the fact that sacking the coach is not the issue, but the major issue is replacing them properly. I mentioned
Hmm.
that looking at ball coaching, readily available alternatives that into your coaches that I can job Conte. So it is, I think, first damage with sack. I think it is smart enough to
Wait,
bring in
wait, wait.
Solskjaer.
Has Conte ever accepted any job mid-season and done well? This one everybody is
Said what?
mentioning Conte like this. Has Conte ever accepted any mid-season job and done well? Everybody's just mentioning Conte. I don't know why.
One thing about
The
Conte is
sample size, the sample size is small.
he has a reputation for coming into chaotic environments and steadying the ship. The only issue is can he maintain that balance long time? That is usually the issue. But
Conte
he comes
always
into a chaotic
requires
situation
a preseason.
and steadies the ship at the barest minimum. He came into Chelsea in his first season and won the Premier League against all odds, despite the fact that he had competition in Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp. So that is no small
He had
feat.
a preseason.
You might
Yes.
be what, but he's someone who you can trust to come into a chaotic situation. Criticize him for whatever of his other ongoing situation and create stability and even win while at it. So
I think you're
that's
Unlike,
missing Samson's point. That Samson does not disagree with that. I think what he's saying is he needs time as well.
yes,
Particularly,
now,
he needs to start a season with the club, get his
definitely,
ideas through
everyone
preseason.
needs time.
We've lost
But
Ahmed.
what I can
I
say
said
But
is the
I
Conte
get.
current situation,
requires a
regardless of the fact that
preseason. You can't
it
bring
is
Conte
already
in
He
now
needs
established that
to
there's
and
no
you
start
time.
expect him
to
to
do whatever he wants
start
to
Season
do.
God's
ongoing.
blazing. It's
But
not possible.
nevertheless, I still trust
In
him
fact,
Yeah,
up
I
to
get
over
I
other
get your point.
alternatives.
But just like you did
So
for
now
Chelsea,
that
I'm
we
going
are
to
in
do
this
the same
situation
for
and
Man United.
there are no
Man
quality
United's
alternatives that are
next
ready to
5 games.
change the situation,
They
like
face
that, I think
Brighton
it is
at Old
smart enough
Trafford
to
on
bring in
the 11th.
Solskjaer,
Today is
who knows
what
what the
again? Today is
problem
the
is,
9th. So that's in
who
2 days'
who knows
time.
what
That
the
would
club is
be
all about.
Sunday.
So someone
They
who has
welcome Man City in the
experience
Premier
in
League
this same
to Old
Manchester
Trafford
situation
as
he
well
coached
on the
seasons ago,
17th.
and
And then
experienced
after
the
that, they face Arsenal
no
at the
situation has
Emirates.
itself
0 points.
now.
That's
Smart
their
enough
next
to
Premier
bring
League
him
game.
back
After that, they
and
host
has the chance to
Fulham
probably
at
correct
Old
some
Trafford,
mistakes he might
Zero
have
and
made
then
points.
they
while
round
he
up the
was
next
coach
5 games with
of Manchester United.
a
And it's a
visit of
Conte that is
Tottenham
also
to Old
on an
Trafford.
They
intention.
So
might
they
Not
not.
literally
winning the
have,
season until
a
once you
very
get to
tough run
Trafford,
of
you have
fixtures.
the
I think that
freedom
they
to
really
actually
messed up
settle down and
with
not
their
even at that point
most recent,
you have to look
set of
start
fixtures.
planning your
Those were
season.
games
That you
that they
assess
should
him
have
along the way and
easily,
see if he's doing
picked
well or
points,
not. You understand?
from. I
And
mean, they
start to
played
plan
teams
at
like
on
Leeds,
get the permanent
regardless of the
solution come
form
into
that
the
they are.
season. But right
Played
now,
Burnley, they
it is
played
not
Wolves,
so bad. I think
and
you're bringing back
Bournemouth, for example.
Solskjaer
Those are
to
games that you would
continue
expect
from
them to
where
at
he
least try
stopped.
to
You
win.
understand? Bring them to one of
United
But
have
the
again,
beat
his first.
Burnley
So that
4
is
to
bad. Consider the fact that
do you know how
they
many
they
times
are
they
not
could have
ready
been
They
fourth
have
this
available
season?
fumbled a lot
opportunities who
of
can
With
opportunities.
actually take
Chelsea's
up the
starters
reins.
this season? They had like 4 or 5 different chances to go fourth, possibly keep that fourth spot, and maybe create a gap between themselves and fifth.
Tell
And
you how
every
inconsistent these
single
teams have been.
time they messed it up.
They have been so
Sorry, what did
that's
you
to tell you
say,
how
JD?
inconsistent both teams are.
Yeah, in fact, it's almost like they are battling. They're battling between themselves for who will not get that fourth
Exactly.
spot. It's almost like they do not want the fourth spot. Both of them are saying, "You go and take it. You go and take it. I don't want it. You go and take it." But we move on. We move to Serie A, and then we round up with Afcon. The Serie A title race is really really heating up. Inter Milan, that everybody had practically written off at the start of the season, are now leading the pack, 3 points clear of their closest rival, Milan, and 4 points clear of Napoli, who they face this weekend. I expect that game to be fire. In the last 3 games between Inter and Napoli, Inter were not able to pick up a win. I remember that they drew both legs last season, and Napoli won the first fixture, the reverse fixture earlier in the season, albeit in controversial circumstances, if you ask me. But what should we expect in this game? Antonio Conte has said that he does not want to do any press conference leading up to this game, doesn't want to talk to anybody. He's been indirectly criticizing the refs. In their last, post-match interview, things are eating up. Christian Kivu on the other side has been somewhat calm, refused to, get involved in any sort of controversy that would lead to exchange of words. But away from matters of the pitch, what should we expect on the pitch? I don't know if David Neres will make it, but I feel like that guy's inclusion in that team changes a whole lot for Napoli. But I would like to know what you guys.
For me, I think Inter has careful. Inter were clearly the better, at least balanced individual knives. I remember the second where Inter so McNeil had every time now score. The truth is, and this is not even banter, Inter is the best team. Inter have the biggest score, best. Conte is, and I think personally there's consequences for this kind of. I'm not sure in England can do a press match. I'm not sure Champions League also can.
You
It's
cannot
not
do it in
allowed
the
in
Champions
Champions.
League for sure.
If you do, you get a fine. So we should not allow such in Serie A. I mean, the press conference is part of fun. It's part of what fans want to. That's what prepares us. But as for the game itself, Inter has everything to win. But Christian Kivu should not play and going guns blaze and forgetting that there is still Napoli will soak the pressure, look to counter. If Neres play that match, then if there's no Neres, I'm looking at it forward. But if there is Neres, problem back. The referee will be under immense because of what has happened that Napoli had drawn after their match.
And also what happened in the first leg, because they did
Inter would
admit
also
that there was an error in the procedure in the
Of
first leg.
course, Inter would also want to pray for what happened in first. So the referee will be under him. I don't know who the referee, but he would be under him. It should be an
Who's the ref
interesting.
that they appointed? Sef? I
It
remember.
should be an interesting
Have
game,
they announced? I'm not sure they've
and
announced the referee.
Yeah,
I expect
I saw it somewhere.
of
Please
today.
continue.
It should be an
Before I let JD give us his thoughts, I'm just going to counter what you said. One of the things that you said by saying that, on the contrary, I don't think that Conte will defend and counter. I think he will actually attack, and I think that may be his greatest on because teams that have attacked against Inter would basically be Inter's best. Inter likes it when you come out against them.
he attack
He
you in the
will.
first.
Yeah, he did not attack us in the first leg.
Why would he
Because if
attack
I
you?
remember very well, he had something to lose first leg. When Conte is leading you and he has to play you in a head-to-head, go and check his career. He would rather play for a draw than to risk a lot and lose that match. But if he needs to catch up, then he knows that he has to win points, so he has to come out. In the first leg, they had all the advantage, so he needed to he had something that he wanted. And I think that, he did coach my team for 2 years. It's a pattern that I've noticed with him. So, but that's just my thoughts. If he does defend and counter, I will be surprised, but it would mean that he's actually worried that Inter will hurt him. But because he has to win that game, he knows that if he does not win that game, or if he loses that game, he could go 7 points behind Inter, and that would probably mean the end of the Scudetto quest as far as the race with Inter is concerned. It would just be possibly Milan and Inter. But we'll see how that goes. Like I said, I would like to know what JD.
Yep. As regards the internal, I want to start by disagreeing with Eso said as regards the game that Inter have all the thing to beat Napoli. We do not have the psychological advantage. Napoli are better psychologically prepared, and this is what has been Inter's biggest undoing in big game. They have not been able to take a psychological leap that they need to win this game. They've dispatched all of the small teams that have come their way, but in those big games, the tactics are always very okay. Technically, they dominate, but then psychologically, they lose out. They just give everyone useless possession, and then before you know it, they are behind. And also, I want to disagree with Olons that Conte will come all guns blazing. I do not think that Conte.
No, not all guns blazing. Just I'm sorry for cutting it. Not all guns blazing. I don't think he will sit down and counter. I think he would approach it with the aim of getting 3
Well, I
points.
still think that
He
I
will
still
attack.
think he will start on the back because Conte would not remember that he's 4 points behind. His focus will be solely on not want to lose that game. Like he better comes out with a draw than lose the game. He knows that it will be a psychological damage for himself and his team if they lose that game. So he would focus solely on the game. And what they will be looking at now, my opinion, is they would try to create a scene that will cause tempers flare. And they know that Inter are not psychologically at that level they are. So they want to gain an advantage over Inter through that means. But I think that Kivo has learned his lessons. He has played like 3 games this season against direct rivals and he has lost in every one of them. So I think he must have learned his lessons. He shouldn't allow his team to how would I put it? He shouldn't allow his team to fall victim of this shenanigans. He should know that. Thank God that Akonji has been in the best form of his life that I've ever seen. I don't know, even at City, while at City, I've never seen Akonji being.
JD.
I have to confess,
Hey,
I didn't expect to see him
I,
performing at this level.
I,
He has
I,
really surprised me. I think
hey.
is that sorry for the use of this word, the asshole that Mullins has always been talking. I've been seeing traces of that in him. He has been commanding the defense line with.
Akonji serves a living God.
I know, right? I completely agree. So I think Inter can actually win the if we can match Napoli psychologically. That's the only thing that I think they have over us, and that's what I've been causing Inter to lose in games. If we can match them psychologically, Napoli stand no chance against us.
Well, one thing that certainly works in Inter's favor is the head-to-head record at San Siro. Napoli are yet to win against Inter in the last 7 games, if
But
I'm
we've
not
drawn the
mistaken.
last
That'll be
three at
one,
San.
three, four,
Have we
eight
not
games.
drawn the last at San Siro?
Sorry?
We've drawn the last three at San.
No, last two at the San
Well,
Siro. But Napoli are yet to.
it's ended
Sorry?
1-1, right?
Yeah, 2-1 draws in the last two meetings at the San Siro. But before then, Inter won the last five. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last five. 1-0, 3-2, 1-0, 2-0, 1-0. And then they ended it up with another draw. So Napoli are yet to win at San Siro since 2017. So that's a positive. Another positive for me would be that Christian Kivu that coached Inter at the start of the season, or should I say at the Club World Cup, is different from the one that is coaching Inter now. It looks to me like that, as far as I'm concerned, it looks like he's learning on the job and he's learning quite fast. I mean, against Genoa at the Marassi, he played a kind of devilish defensive football towards the end of that game that even Max Allegri would be proud of. And I was, particularly surprised that he, do something like that. So what that tells me is that he knows that it is not every time that you have to exert your dominance on rivals or an opponent. Sometimes you just have to understand what the game needs and then adapt your system to that. In fact, I was really, really surprised. That game always rings in my head. So we'll see how it
I,
goes, and hopefully Inter wins, obviously as an Inter fan
I
that
agree
I
with
am.
you. I would like to see that against it.
Yeah, I think the performances have not been missing against top. That is one thing that I want you to
And
note.
I agree with you.
I did not see the Napoli game, obviously. Till today, I've not seen the Napoli game because after that penalty incident, which I still consider a very, very big injustice. Because it's one thing to give a penalty, it's another thing to follow the
But
procedure
we
that would
were
actually
completely
lead to
dominated in
giving
the
that
second half of
penalty.
that. We were totally
Like I said,
dominated.
I did not see that game. But up until that penalty, Inter was in control of that game. Inter was the better side. And you could say the same for almost every big team that Inter has faced this season. So I don't think that the performances have been really missing. It's just, I think that it's more of a psychological problem. And once they're able to overcome that, I think that, the sky is the limit for the team. But like I said, we do not have a lot of time. We're just going to touch briefly on AFCON 2025.
Super.
Before we even talk about Super Eagles, we have two of our semi-finalists already. Morocco defeated Cameroon this evening, 2-0, even though there was a bit of controversy with the Mbelmo penalty
There's
incident.
always Barcelona.
And then there
We are
was,
not
I do
surprised.
not want to cause wahala,
We are
abeg.
not surprised.
But then there was Mali against Senegal. Senegal was able to win that by a long goal. So we already have two of the teams that will be playing in the semi-final.
Mali, best
Morocco and Senegal. Nigeria will be facing Algeria in the quarterfinal, and the other team will be, I can't remember the other game now.
Egypt
and Cote
against
d'Ivoire.
Egypt.
what are they?
Cote d'Ivoire.
Ivory.
Egypt against Cote d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast. That's going to be a very interesting game. Two very interesting games, if you ask me. What should we expect? Which teams are you tipping to make it out of these games? Try to make it as brief as possible.
Nigeria and Ivory.
Do you have some sort of beef for Egypt?
Liverpool Salaba.
Okay. JD, what do you think?
If Nigeria shows up the way they've done in the previous games, I think they will blow Algeria apart. Even if as I know that Nigeria have been the best team I've seen in this tournament, like they've been the best team that I've seen in this. I'm not talking about.
Are you playing?
They said he has seen now. Is
And
it
I've
your eyes?
seen
His
best
eyes
of this
now.
team.
His eyes we used to
They
see
are the
them
best
now.
side I've seen.
There's Ivory Coast. There's
But
Nigeria.
I feel that if Nigeria
Expect
show up the way they have done the last few games, they will blow Algeria. And the Egypt and Ivory Coast game is a close call, but I think Ivory Coast will edge them. I just have the feeling that Ivory Coast will edge.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm scared. I'm scared of that Algeria game. I'm really, really worried. I keep having flashbacks of Riyad Mahrez's free
But I
kick
think like the one
from
game
a
one
few
against
years a
Tunisia,
few years
if we
ago.
can come out very early, rush them, score a couple of goals.
I think Algeria are better than Tunisia, so I do not want to use Tunisia as a
Far
yardstick.
better.
That Tunisia that came to this tournament was
That
really
that
poor. But I do hope we win. One thing that is giving me a bit of hope is that I saw Riyad Mahrez's pre-game interview as well, where he said he was really scared of Nigeria as well. So I guess we're giving them something to worry about because they do know that we know
was
how to
being
score
modest.
goals. And our attack is quite devastating at the moment.
Here's
If we
some
have all three of Ademola Lookman, I've forgotten his other name.
Akko
Why is it?
Adams.
Akko
Um,
Adams. Yes,
Adams, Akko Adams, and Victor Osimhen, if we have all three of them firing on the day, then I don't think they'll top. Obviously, we still have a bit of a problem defensively. But the entire team just needs to work with each other. I think that Eric Chell has found a bit of stability with this 4-3-1-2, and the midfield is doing much more to protect the defense than previous games before this tournament. So we'll see how it goes, and we do hope that we carry the day so that we can come here and discuss a potential Nigeria versus Morocco. Right,
Morocco.
we're facing
Yeah.
Morocco, a potential Nigeria versus Morocco semi-final, where we will try to dispatch the host country like we've done in a few, AFCON tournaments in the past. So, you guys have anything to add before we end the show
The
today? I think we've,
Vini,
touched on a
the
lot of
Vini Simeone fiasco, we did not touch on.
Oh yes, I completely forgot about that. To be honest, we do not have much time, but to be honest, I did not see that game. But I did read a lot about it, and I saw a lot of highlights where Simeone, for the first time, like I was saying before the show, for the first time in a long time, Vini. It actually looks like Vini was actually on the good side of a controversy, and Simeone was actually the villain in this case. But I'm not sure well, I do know what Simeone was trying to achieve. He was trying to get a psychological edge. It looks like it did
Was
not
doing
work. But what I'm just going to ask you, I just want you guys to touch on it briefly. Do you think Xabi Alonso may have learned from their previous meeting? Because if you recall, Atleti whitewashed them
5-2.
that Real Madrid when they faced off in La Liga earlier in the season. So, do you think Xabi Alonso is also learning, or do you think that it was just a matter of individual brilliance that just won the game for them today?
Personally, for what it was, I know what I want to say might sound very controversial, but the team has found a bit of balance, absence.
Continue.
There's a selflessness in the attack without Mbappe. I don't know. That's just the way I see
How many
it.
games have they played without Mbappe now?
And that makes
two,
them
two. Yeah.
2 games. So you're making this bold declaration on the back of 2 games.
controversial.
JD, what are your thoughts?
Diego Simeone crossed the line. He shouldn't have gone as far as telling it to in his face that it was gonna end up being sold. You can try to gain a psychological edge, but then there are lines that you should not cross in professional football. So I think he did too much in that aspect. And I commend Vini for handling it well. He didn't show any sort of reaction on it until after the game when
I mean, very,
I
very
was really
impressive.
surprised that I didn't fall for him.
Our prayers are
I was
working.
surprised I didn't fall for that game. But then Xabi Alonso is improving. But we cannot say he has actually improved that much until the games come thick and fast. Let's see how they fare against Barcelona in the final. Then we can truly agree with Eso that they are finding some sort of balance in Mbappe's absence. But I think Mbappe will actually play in the final because he has traveled to Saudi Arabia, if I'm not mistaken. So we might be seeing Mbappe.
Yeah,
But I hope they do not lose so that Eso and Wande will not have something to talk about on.
Well, there's one more thing I want to talk about, but we'll leave it for another episode. I hope I remember. And it's about this Real Madrid and Barcelona dominance in this La Liga. Someone tweeted about it, and I just remembered when JD mentioned
my only game this
the final. I mean, Copa del Rey, Real Madrid, Barca. Super Copa, Real Madrid, Barca. League with this thing, Real Madrid, Barca. I mean,
Champions
at
League.
this point,
That's why
Champions League.
can we really say that league is competitive
That's why
anymore?
Simone is frustrated.
But
They need to sack Simeone. I
But
beg.
Simone actually
we'll leave that. We'll leave that for another episode.
two league
and
titles, two Europa League titles, two Super Cup titles.
in how many
You
years?
cannot take
Almost 11
away
years.
that credit from him. He has been competing against Real Madrid and
Almost
Barcelona.
Of course.
In those years,
almost
Real Madrid
13
and
years.
Barcelona have won about 7 Champions League titles between them. So you cannot say
I
Simeone has not
beg
tried.
you.
Simeone is also the highest paid coach in Europe,
We
if
know,
I'm not
right?
mistaken.
But what level were Atletico Madrid before he came on?
I completely understand that. But why is he not
Simeone,
collecting
Do you
an
know why I'm having this
Atletico
opinion?
Simeone,
Madrid
Do you know
level
why I'm having
salary?
this opinion?
Simeone is third.
Do you know why I'm
Simeone
having
is
this
third
opinion?
on the
I
list
saw
of
I saw a
managers
list
that
of
has
I saw
Because
a
of
list
me.
of the highest spending coaches in Europe right now, and I saw
he is
Guardiola at the
third.
top of the
He
list.
is
I
third.
saw Massimiliano Allegri. I saw Antonio Conte. There is Diego Simeone.
Simeone is third.
Relatively,
Simeone
he's
is
third,
third.
right? Relatively, you cannot say Simeone is not doing well. What has Conte achieved with all the money he
Which way
spent?
is he doing?
What's
What's he
Allegri
doing?
achieved with all the money he spent? So if you want to compare these
Allegri
two,
has one more trophy than him. Allegri has one more trophies
local
than him.
trophies.
Did you just say what has Allegri
Local
achieved?
trophies. Simone has 4 trophies
There
in
are still
Europe.
trophies now.
Simone has 4 trophies in Europe. He has about 6 trophies in Spain.
Uh-huh.
You cannot compare that to Allegri.
Uh-huh.
There are still trophies. There are still trophies are trophies, whether you like it or
But
not.
Simeone's trophies carry better weight. He has won in Europe. Allegri has won
Europa.
anything.
Europa League.
Europa League
He
compared
has
to
won
league
the Super
title,
Cup. He
I
won
don't
the
think so.
Super Cup against Chelsea. He won another one against.
European Super Cup compared to league
He
title,
has
I
2 league
don't think so.
titles
Una
with
Emery.
Atletico
Una
Madrid.
Emery self
No,
win
I'm not
Europa
saying he
League.
doesn't have, but we're talking about a manager that has 7 league, is it 6 or 7 league titles in that? And I'm talking about Allegri now. And then you are comparing that to a couple of Europa
I
League titles. Come
I
on.
I can actually lay claim for Diego Simeone. He's not doing that bad if you compare him to those coaches.
No, I'm not writing. I've made an argument in favor of Simeone on this show, if I remember well. I've made an argument in his favor. But at the same
We
time, I just feel like
we
La
need to see.
Liga is just Real Madrid and Barca. And
And
part of that is because Simeone is not spicing it up as much as he should. He's
Yes,
not
now.
putting
For the
tension
what do you
under
think
their
he
bum
should
bum
have
see,
the
done
way
or
he
should be
should.
doing different?
we are in
He should be
January.
more consistent.
We are in
It
January.
should be more. I mean, Atletico will go into a season. It's either they start well, and then towards December they just sleep off, and then by February they wake up again. This
Their
season they did
season
not start well, and then they
their
woke.
season ends
As
in
in
January.
every season they are never consistent.
Their season ends
And
in
for
January.
over 10 years since he's had that job, he has not addressed that particular problem. In fact, the 2 times that he won the league, one could argue that it's because Real Madrid and Barca did not turn up, not
They were
because
extremely
Simeone was
poor.
particularly
It's
great.
difficult to
You could make that argument.
against Real Madrid.
If
It's
not
an
that we are
argument that I can either argue in favor of or against. It's easy
if
for
not
me,
that we
but
are broke.
that's
If
for
not that we
another
are
day.
if not that we are broke. Julian Alvarez should have been playing in Serie A. He has
That guy looks like an inter
bandits.
player. He
I
looks
mean,
like a natural inter player.
That guy is. I don't even care where he plays.
I beg,
Serie
we've
A.
spent too much time. We've spent too much time today. Let's round it up. Come to the end of the show today. As always, thank you guys for sticking with us up until this very moment. If you're still here, we really appreciate you. And like we always ask, please do not forget to engage with all of our content, particularly on YouTube and all of our social media platforms. Every like, every comment, every share, every subscription or follow, means a lot to us, and we really appreciate you. On all platforms, the name still remains the Late Go Podcast. Feel free to follow us on Twitter, which is now X. Follow us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and give us a subscription or tell a friend to tell a friend about us on YouTube. Until we meet again on the next episode, do have yourself lovely evening, a lovely day, wherever you find yourself at which time you're watching this. Have a lovely. Bye bye.
Obrigado.